This episode of 2.5 Geeks is brought to you by Data Robotics Drobo. You may be familiar with Drobo for the home user, but for small to medium-sized companies, check out drobo.com/business for simple, sophisticated storage solutions for the enterprise.
Coming up on 2.5 Geeks, AMD is really ticked at BAPCo and just decided to leave. Dell's got 2 laptops, an XPS and an Alienware. They are nothing alike, I'm assured by Marco. And there's plenty more, including more information about the contest.
The bar has been set
wicked fast. It rocked in the benchmarks. We're going to up the ante a little bit.
Processing power, I kind of understand this. Welcome back to 2.5 Geeks. I'm Iyaz alongside Dave Altavilla and Marco Chiappetta. How are you guys doing?
Doing great. How you doing, brother?
Good, good. How about Dave? How about you?
I'm well.
You're well?
And yourself?
I'm still good. That's why Dave's doing not so great, because I told him he's got to stay in his chair and he can't spin or move or do anything. So
I'm fidgety.
He's very, very unhappy about that. That's why we're going to start with Marco to punish Dave. We're going to talk about AMD. This is the headline at Hot Hardware. AMD gives BAPCo the bird, chirps about unfair Sysmark benchmark. As I understand it, there is some kind of benchmark that a bunch of different companies are a part of. This is the whole BAPCo situation. So there's Intel, AMD, Nvidia, and they're all on some kind of I don't know, a committee of some kind. And so AMD was saying that this was unfair. Marco, could you fill in all the gaps I'm making here, because I don't fully understand the story?
Sure. So BAPCo is a consortium of was a consortium of all the major hardware vendors and a handful of major software players as well. And BAPCo created benchmarks that would supposedly evaluate the total system performance of a PC, designed to help corporate America make buying decisions on what kind of PCs they need for their applications. Now, BAPCo is also used, some websites like Hot Hardware, some other publications would use it for system-level reviews as well. And what has happened is, over the course of the last couple of years, during the development of Sysmark 2012, AMD, I guess, put forth many proposals, 80 of which BAPCo says were approved, but many of which were not. And now that the benchmark is complete, AMD is saying it is not a valid representation of current system performance. It does not leverage the GPU enough, and hence it is not fair to their products. So they didn't say it's not fair to their products, but obviously they're leaving because it doesn't paint their newer Fusion products, in a great light, because it's heavily dependent on CPU performance, and Intel has a huge advantage there. So Sysmark looks like the Intel show.
Now, there are other companies too. Nvidia's there, and there was a bunch of other non-Intel companies there. Did they also leave, or did they stay? Did they also find the test to be unfair for them?
Well, it's funny. I'm going to have to just give credit to semi-accurate. Charlie Demerjan actually got statements from Nvidia and VIA, who also left BAPCo, also left the consortium, right around the same time AMD did last week. So now it's really just Intel on the major hardware front, and a bunch of software people. So, it kind of marginalizes BAPCo completely. Sysmark, according to VIA, AMD, and Nvidia, is not representative of real-world system performance the way people use their PCs today. So hence they are withdrawing from BAPCo. And, it's interesting. I sort of see where they're coming from, because Sysmark 2012, even though it's just coming out, still uses even older web browsers that don't offer any kind of GPU acceleration. So who cares how the browser test is if it's not leveraging any of the GPU horsepower? So I don't know, kind of an interesting discussion. It's going to make us all have to think about how we evaluate the performance of a PC.
Yeah, Dave, what do you think you're going to go for your performance benchmarks then? Are you going to just marginalize Sysmark entirely and just say, okay, look, well, it's only for Intel, so what's the point in using this? I mean, how is this going to affect your actual testing?
Yeah, I think it's pretty huge. I mean, when you have that sort of critical mass leaving the consortium to approve and ratify the test methodologies and the applications and the test suites that are in this benchmark, when you have that number of major players defecting, it just totally takes the I guess relevance out of the tool for us, or at the very least sort of paints a little bit of a negative light on it, and in fact that these other major players feel it's biased towards other CPU architectures or other performance metrics that are less important to the consumer, and that's huge. I mean, at the end of the day, our benchmark numbers, our performance evaluations are only as good as the tools we use. And if some of these major players, numerous, not just one now, don't feel they're fair, then we have an issue with it too.
Let's talk about a review of a laptop. I know you guys have the Dell XPS 15Z, which, if I remember right, looks kind of just exactly like the MacBook. Dave, how did it actually? What do you think of the laptop first, and then what could you tell us about it?
Sure. Well, I think folks sort of are a little bit overzealous in that claim that it looks like a MacBook. I think they're giving a little too much credit to Apple on this. It certainly has some design cues that are akin to the MacBook line. Certainly, chrome finish, aluminum, and sort of the silver-clad machine does have some styling cues in that direction, but it's actually a very well-built machine, a very thin machine. Dell claims the thinnest 15-inch on the market, and it's less than an inch thick. It's gorgeous. Backlit keyboard, these sort of shaped keycaps, very comfortable typing experience. Very nice screen, 15.6-inch, 1920 by 1080 native res. Has an Nvidia GeForce GT525 on board, and we tested one with a Core i7-2620 dual core with hyperthreading, so 4 threads available to the operating system at 2.7 gigahertz and 8 gig of RAM. Really nice machine, put up some really nice benchmark numbers. It's the kind of machine, at 5.5 pounds that guys like me, I actually don't mind carrying a little bit of weight in my bag that I would travel with without hesitation. It's a beautiful machine.
So how was the actual performance? I mean, I think or performance per dollar almost, because if this was a MacBook Pro, it probably cost something like, I'd say $3,500. You're talking about 8 gigs of RAM, and you're talking about actually, you can't even get that display, I don't think, on a MacBook just yet. I don't think they do 1080p on the 15-inch. I got to double check that. How was the performance like for the price?
Oh, it's fantastic. I mean, for the price, and especially when you compare it to the MacBook Pro. I mean, hey, let's be fair now. If you're going to say it looks like a MacBook Pro, then let's compare the internals and the performance and the value per dollar that you get. That's a very good point, Iyaz. I think the 15-inch MacBook Pro starts at $1799. Ours, as tested, fully loaded with 8 gigs of RAM, a discrete, Nvidia GeForce GPU, etc., was $1599. So $200 less right off the bat versus even the base model MacBook Pro. Ton of horsepower under the hood. You're talking about a 2.7 gig dual core Sandy Bridge processor and an Nvidia GeForce GT525M mobile processor on board with Optimus switching. So it'll switch to the GPU when you need some gaming and switch off when you don't. And in terms of gaming and multimedia, it's actually got plenty of horsepower under the hood for some light duty gaming, some lower res stuff, maybe 720p sort of resolution with medium image quality, no problem on this GPU. And the processor is more than capable for just about anything you could throw at it. So real nice machine for the money, and base price starting at $999 if you really want to get cheap about it.
Yeah, actually, while you were talking, I priced out the MacBook Pro at 15 inches. Its display maxes out at 1680 by 1050. And the processor maxes out at 2.3 gigahertz. And when I put 8 gigabytes of RAM, it costs $2749.
There you go.
That's pretty...
That's a grand less.
Yeah, so what I'm suggesting, if you really do like the Apple experience, buy the XPS and put OS 10 on it. If you feel like it. That's if you feel like it.
I didn't say that.
Oh, no. That is not a hot hardware recommendation, although I think the viewers, that they felt like it could do it. Let's talk about something we don't talk about much, speakers. There's a Logitech Z906 speaker system that you guys reviewed, and looking at the picture of this thing, it looks more like a home theater setup. There seems to even be like a huge control module, what looks like to be a receiver of some kind. Marco, what could you tell us about this?
So this is actually Logitech's brand new top-of-the-line 5.1 channel speaker system. Logitech's Z5500s were, for years, considered one of the best 5.1 channel multimedia speaker system for PCs, and they kind of sat atop that perch for a long time. Well, Logitech's here with the Z906s, which we've reviewed. It's a 5.1 channel system, as you mentioned, 500 watts total RMS, and it does now include this control pod with a wireless remote, but it has 6 inputs now. So while it is a PC speaker system, it can be used in a home theater setup. You have multiple inputs. You can switch between them easily with the control pod. And the pod is kind of sized just right to fit in a home theater environment too. So you end up with I'm going to say it's one of the better 5.1 channel systems. They are only single drivers and all the satellites, so you don't get quite the crisp, ultra clear highs as you would with a multi-driver setup. But a killer speaker system all around. Our man Paul really liked them, and they're not terribly pricey when you consider you get a Class D amp with the sub, the 5 channels, the control module, and the remote for a street price around $320.
Now looking at this control pod you're talking about, I mean, I would imagine a lot of this used to be done via software. You probably have like a control panel there. How did you find, or how did Hot Hardware find the use of a control pod to access everything? It seems really consumer friendly.
It actually is, because the remote is also really simple, so you don't have to walk up to the control pod and say, switch inputs from your PlayStation to your PC, or your Blu-ray player to your PC. You can switch inputs and control some of the basic functions right from a wireless remote. And the pod has lots of indicators and simple switches. So while it looks kind of busy, we did find it to be easy to switch between the inputs and adjust, output quality, volume, and all that kind of goodness. It's probably Logitech's best speaker system. It's deservedly pushed the Z5500s off the top, and the Z906s are now Logitech's premier system. It's safe to say that.
Well, let's talk about another Dell laptop, but this one's the Alienware, and this thing will never, ever be mistaken for a MacBook Pro. This is the M14X, a sneak peek. Dave, I know you have it right there. You showed it to me before the show. Why don't you show the audience what it is, because that thing is really pretty.
Sure, and actually, I'll take one step back on the XPS 15Z and say we gave Dell the editor's choice on that laptop. We liked it so much. So just a notable there.
Big asterisk there. Let's talk about this Alienware though.
Yeah, well, more from the folks at Dell, but their Alienware division, and this thing is lining up for some high marks as well. This is one cool, sleek, and badass, might I say, looking machine. This is the M14X. It is a 14-inch Alienware machine, and as you can see, backlit keyboard here. We've got it in sort of an alien red, angry alien red mode. You can change those colors with Alien Command Center, and you can change the colors in like 3 or 4 different zones on the keyboard for gaming purposes. Just a really, really nice machine. You've got a quad core in here, Core i7-2630QM at 2 gigahertz. And that has turbo boost, I think, to something like 2.9. You've got Nvidia GeForce GT 555M mobile graphics processor in there, and so a little bit more horsepower than the XPS 15Z. Gorgeous display. Let's see, there's a couple different options for display. You've got, I'm looking it up now, I had it in front of me. Where did it go? 1366 by 768 and 16 by 9. On the display, if you wanted the high-end version, 1600 by 900 resolution. 6.5-pound machine, and absolutely cool and sleek, and looks a little bit like a little muscle car.
Now, you said 6.5 pounds, so it's pretty hefty. So since people are going to be using this for gaming, I'm going to assume that it's got no battery life.
And you'd probably be wrong.
Oh, good. That's always good to know.
It's got an 8-cell battery on board. We researched that. We just got the machine in the other day. I mean, literally showed up on our dock on Friday. So 8-cell battery on board, and with NVIDIA's Optimus, again, switching, graphic switching capability. When you're on the desktop, this machine is probably going to last, well, Dell claims around 6 hours on a charge, or I should say Alienware, the division of Dell, said it lasts about 6 hours on a charge. You're not going to get 6 hours gaming guaranteed. You're probably going to get somewhere south of that if you're doing some heavy-duty gaming. I'm going to guess probably something around a couple hours. But, browsing the web, maybe watching a movie, running on the IGP and Sandy Bridge and the processor on board, I'm sure you could approach the 5-hour mark or 6-hour mark. We're going to do a full benchmark run on this thing, and also some battery life testing as well, so we'll let you know. But it's got an 8-cell battery on board, and so that's why it's a little bit heavier. 6.5 pounds for a 14-inch machine. It's not a svelte notebook by any stretch, but it's built solid, really nice texture, rubberized finish, great accents, and we're expecting big things from it. Really sharp looking notebook.
Want to make any promises on when we can see the review on Hot Hardware? Want to say a week or two?
I'd say a week and a half. Yeah.
Right, so hang tight. Definitely hang tight. Or if you want to go to Hot Hardware right now, you could check out some information about the contest that's being run right now. Marco, could you tell the audience about the contest?
I can. We are actually in the final days. By the time this podcast goes live, we may have even announced the winner. We're going to announce this coming week, the 27th. The contest ends. It's the Hot Hardware Dads and Grads giveaway. It is going to be a beautiful quad-core AMD Phenom 2 X4 980 Black Edition powered machine that Dave and I are going to put together, complete with SSD from Kingston memory, dual Radeon 6870 graphics. Going to be a great gaming system, all encased in a sick thermal take level 10. You got to come by the site, check out the picture. The system looks awesome. If you haven't been commenting and you're going to join now to go see the picture, though, you're not going to win. You had to be around for a while and participate on the site. So be sure to come by the site, check out the winner soon, and we will announce the next contest as soon as we can.
So if you want to find out anything about the contest or future contests or anything we talked about on today's show, check out HotHardware.com. But maybe you want to go around the web. You want to get it on something like Twitter. That's good. We have stuff for that. There's twitter.com/hothardware. There's dig.com/hothardware. There's youtube.com/hothardwarevids. And there's one I'm forgetting. Oh, that small company called Facebook. Facebook.com/hothardware. So you can go there and you can see great hot hardware content all over the web. That's right. For you guys. So for your convenience. So we're very glad to bring that to you. Anyway, that wraps up this episode of 2.5 Geeks. Does anyone want to say anything before we leave?
Thank you for stopping by.